I was never supposed to deliver to room 42. It was a Friday evening when I got the order. My shift was supposed to end soon, and the night felt quiet. Too quiet for a typical Friday. I was looking forward to the end of the day. The clock on the dashboard blinked 11:30 p.m. as I checked my phone for any orders. The app pinged with a new one. Delivery to room 42, the Red Lion Hotel. It was strange. The Red Lion wasn't on my usual route, and I rarely got requests for deliveries there. Everyone knew about the place, the stories, the rumors, the things that supposedly happened inside. No one ever talked about it directly, but I'd overheard whispers at the diner and in the delivery group chats. The Red Lion was a place people avoided. I should have declined it, but the pay was decent, and I didn't have any other orders lined up. I hit accept and made my way to the hotel. The drive was long, the streets empty, and the air was unnervingly still. When I arrived, I parked my car and approached the hotel. It was an old building, its faded bricks cracked and worn, as though it had stood there long before the city had been built up around it. Inside, the lobby was even worse. The lights flickered dimly, casting long shadows across the dusty floors. The air had a peculiar smell, something musty, like old paper and rotting wood. The front desk clerk, an older man, barely looked up as I asked for directions to room 42. He just pointed down the hall, towards a part of the hotel that felt like it had been forgotten by time. The hallway stretched out before me, narrow and barely lit. Each step echoed off the walls, bouncing back at me in strange, disjointed rhythms. The hotel seemed to creak under its own weight, like it was alive, groaning with age. The temperature dropped the further I walked, and I could feel the chill crawling under my skin. I passed several doors, all closed, some with numbers scratched off or obscured by grime. I wondered how long it had been since anyone had stayed in these rooms. The air smelled stale, and I felt as though I was walking into a tomb. When I finally reached room 42, I paused. The door was different from the others. It was darker, the wood scarred and chipped. The number was etched into the door, but it looked like it had been scratched over many times. I knocked twice, my heart beating faster than it should have. No answer. I knocked again, but still nothing. I was about to turn and leave when the door creaked open, just a crack, revealing the faintest sliver of darkness inside. I stepped inside, my shoes clicking on the cold, hard floor. The room was small, barely furnished. A bed in the corner, a table with a chair, and an old, flickering lamp. But there was something unsettling about the space, like it was frozen in time. The air smelled off like metal, like iron, and it made my stomach churn. And then I saw him. He sat at the table, still as a statue. His face was hidden in the shadows, but I could see his hands resting on the table. His fingers were long and thin, curled unnaturally, almost like they hadn't moved in years. There was a faint, low hum in the room, like the sound of a forgotten machine running somewhere deep within the walls. I placed the food on the table, hoping to get out as quickly as possible. But as I began to back away, the door slammed shut behind me with a force that made the walls shake. The man's voice came then, low, raspy, like it had been dragged out from the depths of something ancient. "You shouldn't have come," he whispered. I froze. There was something wrong with the air, something wrong with his voice. My instincts screamed at me to run, but my body refused to move. I backed up, trying to reach the door, but it wouldn't open. I pushed and pulled, but the knob wouldn't budge. The room felt like it was closing in on me, the walls pressing in, suffocating me. The man didn't move, but his eyes, those eyes, stared straight through me. Empty. Hollow. I turned and ran toward the window, but it wouldn't open either. I could hear the man's breathing, low and steady, like he was waiting. And then I heard it, a soft rustling behind me. I spun around, and the man was standing now, his form more defined in the dim light. His smile stretched unnaturally wide, like it was painted on. His eyes glistened with a sickly gleam. "You'll stay," he said, his voice a guttural whisper. But I didn't stay. I ran again, the door finally giving way, crashing open with a force that sent me tumbling out into the hall. I sprinted down the corridor, past the eerie, silent doors, and out into the cold, empty street. I didn't stop running until I was back in my car. My hands were shaking so violently, I could barely grip the steering wheel. My mind was spinning. What the hell had just happened? I thought I was safe. I drove back to the restaurant, hoping to forget what had just happened. But when I checked my phone, there was a notification. The app. It was still open, the screen flashing with a new delivery. Room 42, the Red Lion Hotel. I nearly dropped the phone. How could this be? I had just left that place. I tried to close the app, but it wouldn't shut. The screen stayed open, the glowing number 42 blinking, like it was calling to me. I turned off my phone, desperate to shut it all out. But even in the silence, I could hear the faintest sound. A whisper. You forgot to deliver. I never returned to the Red Lion. Not for another delivery. Not for anything. But every night, my phone buzzes. Every night, I get the same order. Room 42. I've deleted the app. Reinstalled it. Deleted it again. It doesn't matter. The orders keep coming. But now, I'm not the one delivering the food. It's waiting for me. I deliver food to stay alive. Not in the poetic sense. I mean that literally, if I stop delivering, I die. It started a month ago, when I picked up an unusual late-night order. The address was unfamiliar, 1313 Cross Hollow Road. It wasn't even on my map. I had to drive through back roads and wooded trails to find it. No streetlights. No signal. When I arrived, the house was just wrong. Too tall, windows too small, and everything slanted like it had melted and dried crooked. The air smelled like wet rust and vinegar. I dropped the bag on the porch, rang the bell, and turned to leave. The door opened behind me. Wait, you forgot the sauce. The voice didn't match the shape. I didn't turn around, I couldn't. My body just wouldn't. But something cold and wet slithered over my shoulder, dropping a small glass jar into my hand. Don't forget next time, the voice hissed. I didn't sleep that night, but the next morning, the app had a new icon. Black and red. No name. I tried to delete it, but it stayed. Worse, it replaced my usual delivery app. My job was gone, except this new one kept giving me orders. Always strange addresses. Always at night. And always with a note. Include the sauce. The jars started to multiply in my car. Thick liquid that shifted color when you weren't looking. One night it was red. The next green. Once it was pitch black, and I swear it whispered when I touched it. Every time I tried to quit, something terrible happened. A coworker disappeared. My cat died overnight, bones bent in ways that didn't make sense. My reflection started to move slower than me, so I keep delivering. Last night, I got an order for an apartment building I recognized. Normal place, normal people. I felt hopeful, until I saw the number. Apartment 131. When I got to the door, it opened before I knocked. And someone who looked exactly like me took the bag. Same face, same clothes, same tired eyes. They smiled and whispered, "Finally my shift's over." Then slammed the door in my face. Now the app won't stop buzzing. 10 orders waiting. 15. 20. And every single one is addressed to me. I ran. I don't remember choosing to, but my legs moved before my brain could catch up. Down the stairwell, out into the night. I didn't stop until I was back in my car, the engine barely turning over, headlights flickering like they weren't sure they wanted to stay on. The app was still buzzing. Orders kept pouring in, every one marked for delivery, immediate. All to different places. All with my name. I turned the phone off. No change. The screen stayed lit, still vibrating, still showing new deliveries piling up. Then came the knock. I jumped so hard I nearly slammed my knee into the steering wheel. Someone was at my driver's side window. A man, no, a shape, wearing my uniform. Hat pulled low, face in shadow. I rolled the window down half an inch. "You're late," it said, mimicking my voice like a recording. "I quit," I muttered. "You can't," it said. "You're the sauce now." Then it reached through the glass, not through the open part, through the solid pane like it was fog, and dropped another jar in my lap. This one wasn't sealed. It oozed slowly like it was breathing. I threw the jar out the window and peeled off, tires screeching. I drove for hours. No direction, no destination. Just trying to outrun whatever was behind this. But I can't. Every city I enter, the app updates. New orders. New addresses. Always tagged from you. To you. Last night, I tried smashing the phone. Didn't work. When I woke up, it was back on my nightstand, clean, fully charged, and already loaded with deliveries. My car was filled with bags of food I don't remember packing. And on the dashboard, a fresh jar of sauce. This one had my face reflected in it, even when I turned away. I don't know how long I've been delivering. Days blur. Roads loop. I tried not to open one of the jars. Tried. The sauce doesn't just smell like blood, it smells like memory. My childhood. My first kiss. My father's funeral. All there layered like flavors. And now I'm scared the deliveries aren't food anymore. They're pieces of me. Last night, I made what I thought would be my final delivery. No address. Just a single word on the screen. Home. I didn't recognize the location, but the GPS led me to a warehouse at the edge of the city. One I swear wasn't there before. Inside, there were no lights, just the glow from my phone guiding me forward. The air was thick with the scent of old oil and something sweet, almost like burnt sugar. At the center of the space stood a massive metal door. On it, painted in streaks of sauce, was a message. Return what you've taken. I didn't know what it meant until I looked down. The bag in my hands wasn't full of food. It was full of photographs. Me at every age. Notes I'd written and forgotten. Old receipts. Hair. Teeth. Memories. A piece of myself with every order. I left the bag by the door and stepped back. The door creaked open just a crack. And from the darkness behind it, something stepped out. It looked like me, but older. Tired. Worn thin. He smiled, handed me a clean, empty delivery bag and said, "Your shift starts again now." The warehouse vanished when I turned around. I was back in my car. The app buzzed once. Order number 1, you. I opened the new bag. Inside was a mirror, and it was empty. It started off like any other Friday night, endless orders, aching legs, and the quiet hope of generous tips. I was halfway through my shift when a new delivery popped up. The address caught my eye, Old Hollow Inn. I hesitated. That place was more of a ghost story than an actual hotel now. Half the town swore it was abandoned. The order was simple though. 1 cheeseburger, prepaid, with a tip so large I couldn't ignore it. The streets got quieter the closer I got. Fog blanketed everything. The hotel stood like a tombstone against the night sky, its neon sign flickering as if it were gasping its last breath. I parked my bike and double-checked the app. Room 666. I blinked. That couldn't be right. The inn didn't even look like it had more than 3 floors. Still, the app wouldn't let me cancel. Inside, the air was stale. The lobby furniture was covered in plastic sheets, and dust floated like ash in the light of a dying chandelier. The elevator was out of order, so I took the stairs. The numbered rooms ended at 599. But as I turned to leave, something shifted. A door appeared at the end of a narrow hallway that hadn't been there before. Black wood, and 666 carved into it, rough like claw marks. The door opened as I approached. No creak, just silence. The room was ice cold. Dark. The TV glitched on, static screaming into the air. On a small table, a cheeseburger sat, half-eaten and crawling with flies. The smell hit me like a punch. Blood, grease, and something else. Burnt skin, maybe. Then I noticed the note. "Thanks for the delivery. Sorry I couldn't meet you. I've been burning here since 1966. I backed out and sprinted. Down the stairs. Out the door. Onto my bike. But when I looked at the app, it still said the delivery was in progress. I couldn't close it. I couldn't delete it. Every time I tried, the screen flickered and reopened. You can't leave. Room 666 is hungry. I didn't work the next day, or the day after. I deleted the app. Bought a new phone. But that message kept showing up. In my email. My texts. Even in the microwave display. A week later, another burger order appeared on my doorstep. No address. Just a sticky note attached. "You forgot the drink." I threw it in the trash. It was back on the counter the next morning. Hot. Fresh. Waiting. Then things got worse. At night, I heard the sound of knocking, 3 short knocks, always from a different wall. My fridge started buzzing with static, like a broken TV. I'd find oily footprints in my hallway. I lived alone. I tried to move. Packed my bags and left town. I got as far as the county line when my GPS rerouted me. Back to Old Hollow Inn. The road signs twisted themselves. My phone battery stayed at 66%. The sky turned red. I crashed the bike. Woke up in the hospital, but nobody could find the order history on my app. It was wiped. Erased. Even my delivery ID didn't exist. They discharged me 2 days later. As I walked outside, my phone buzzed. Final notice, room 666 still awaits. I haven't slept in days. Every reflection shows a little more of that hallway. Every mirror, every puddle. Room 666 is behind me now, even when I close my eyes. I think it's getting closer. And tonight, my door just knocked. 3 times. Short. Sharp. Hungry. I didn't answer the door. Not at first. I stood there frozen, phone gripped in my hand, heart slamming against my ribs. The knock didn't come again, but the silence after was worse. A kind of pressure filled the room, like the walls were leaning in to hear what I would do next. I backed away, slowly, sat in the corner with all the lights on. I stayed there until dawn. When morning finally bled into the sky, I convinced myself it had been a dream. A stress-induced hallucination, sleep deprivation, maybe even a prank. But when I opened the door, there it was. A delivery bag, my logo, my name, printed on the receipt. And inside, another cheeseburger. Same greasy, heavy smell. Same kind of bun. But this one was raw. Not undercooked, raw. Cold beef dripping. A single human tooth pressed into the meat like a garnish. I threw up. I tried to burn the bag outside, but the flame wouldn't catch. It was like the bag was wet, even though it wasn't. It just hissed and smoked like something alive was inside it. So I buried it. 3 hours later, I found it on my kitchen table again. This time with a note. It's not polite to waste food. Deliver it. I locked all the doors, sealed the windows, unplugged everything. But things still moved. Chairs dragged themselves into different corners when I wasn't looking. The TV turned itself on, even unplugged, always tuned to static. A voice started speaking in the static. Garbled, but I could swear it said my name. I tried to sleep again. Just an hour. But when I opened my eyes, I was no longer in my room. I was standing in front of room 666. The door opened before I could even think to run. And I stepped in.